Hello world. There we go. Okay, super. Tonight we're featuring the River Road, the Anthology. Joan Dobbie, Literary Guild Prez, co-created River Road, the Anthology, 2026, along with Erica Goss, Joanna, Powell and Dianne Dugaw. This two-volume collection showcases nearly 150, mostly Pacific Northwest writers. Her own books include Woodstock Baby, 2013, The Language of Stone, 2019, and Zenyatta, Joanna, 2023. She has a U of O MFA in creative writing. So, without any further ado, here is Joan Dobbie.
Okay, so featuring our grand anthologies, and they are really, really beautiful. So please, even if you can't buy one, look at them. They are they're selling for $18 a piece. However, anyone who comes to any of our presentations, as this one is, only pays $15 a piece. If you're in the anthology, which I don't think any, oh, you are. Yes, if you're in the anthology, it only costs you $10 to get one. Yeah. So, and I also asked you on the open mic, maybe you read something from here? Yeah. And I'm going to start by reading a poem that I have in here. So these are like two volumes. They go by first names. The first one is your name starts with an A and all the way to J. And the second volume, your name starts with a K and all the way to Z. So that's just how it worked out for us. Let me find mine's a J because I'm a Joan. And aha, I got it. So this poem is called My First Memory, and it's truly true, factual. My first memory, circa 1947. I think I was not yet 2 at home in the tiny neutral country called Switzerland, to which my parents escaped and where I was born, and from which we later were forced to leave. But then it was spring, and me so tiny, dark, and so naked, sitting bare-bottomed in a washtub of thin blue water, under the impossibly high, unreachable sky, where my mother had left me for just 1 minute alone, when the huge brindled cow with her great arched nostrils came by, snorting hugely, and drank up all my water. And I have that image still in my mind of that huge head. And I did talk to my mom after that, of course, many times, and she said it was all true, except she had not left me alone, but she did not dare move for fear that the cow would do something. So she just sat there and watched. I had this whole plan of everything I was going to do in what order, but it's all getting mixed up. So, back here. Yeah. Okay. This is a book that I actually self-published when I first came to Eugene in 1983. I'm reading from it now because this day is a very sad day in some way. It's the anniversary of Hiroshima, that American hit, Hiroshima. And in it, I have a poem that I wrote then, well, not then, but 30 years after that. It's now, that's 40 years ago about, so we're talking about probably about 70-something, almost 80 years since Hiroshima. It's called The Anniversary of Hiroshima, August 6, 1983. More floating than walking, ghost-like, with hands outstretched, we offer our candles each in its own paper boat to the water. It's the Japanese ritual of remembering. We form an endless pale yellow procession encircling the still pond with soft fire. They say that each small flame holds the spirit of one lost that day, 38 years past. I imagine how the sky opened into light, a huge display. On earth, a child exploded into fragments, a hand dismembered, glued to the wall with a black crust. They list a list of names, foreign names. 40 years old, man. 12 years old, girl. 16 years old, woman. It continues, a ritual drone. And how do you judge if the 38-year-old ashes of a 16-year-old corpse never found are woman or child? I know more personal stories of death, with blue-eyed soldiers who laugh, who toss babies into the air and catch them on the tips of their bayonets, their mothers watching. And I know about ditches with families lined up in front of them with shovels. My father's father and my father's mother died like that, and thousands more. And have we learned from that? And what have we learned? Us with words like Vietnam, El Salvador, Guatemala, Gaza, I have to say now, Iran. Our procession is silent about the water. From a distance, someone is playing an oboe, rehearsed many hours for this moment. A small flock of ducks, holding tight formation, glides dimly amongst the glowing boats. The ducks are curious. Above us, safely, our own small stars shimmer peacefully. Beside me, bare-chested, my tall young son is standing golden. I notice how his body is lengthening out, his arms rounding into muscles. At 8, he is becoming a man. I'm afraid to look up for fear of an airplane. It is true, we humans have captured the essence of an almighty God once just imagined. We could indeed make it happen some magnificent night soon. In the sky, a glorious white light. On earth, the muffled scream of a candle going out. Thank you. Do this. Keep walking between things. Okay. You can still hear me?
Yes.
It's working. Okay. So airplanes can be scary, but not all scary. I'm going to read you something now that is not actually a poem. It's what you would call a memoir, if I find the right one. Here it is. It's called My Life in an Airplane. I have family in Western Australia, so I spend a lot of time flying around the world. And I thought I would write a book called My Life in an Airplane, but so far it's just one story. But we'll see where it goes. And I have to admit, before I read it, that I have terrible taste in relationships. Okay. Okay, my life in an airplane. I'm heading for Sydney by way of Vancouver. The man on my left argues with the attendant. He refuses to check his oversized bag. He towers above her. She makes herself taller and walks away to the back of the plane. He gets up and marches behind her, large suitcase in hand. A few minutes later, he returns to his seat, obviously victorious. Somehow, he has won the battle. He won't tell me how. Nonetheless, he is nervous, grouchy, clearly anxious. I'm trying to make conversation, but he won't even tell me his name. Says he's a famous Hollywood screenwriter, afraid that I'll brag that his world-renowned name sat next to me on the airplane. What kind of writing does he do? He writes to make money, that's what. Right now, he's writing a children's book. They've asked him to write it. This one's about 2 young detectives on a crime-solving mission in Paris. He uses a different pen name with each piece he writes. He tells me he travels all over the world for his work. Mostly his wife travels with him. His wife is a famous TV producer who just won an Emmy, he says. Right now they are living in Sydney, except she's on her own trip at the moment. He won't, of course, tell me her name. We look out the window together. I say that I'm also a writer. He doesn't respond. He shows me the San Juan Islands. He points out a most beautiful sunset. I pull out my phone. He does the same. Together we photograph sky, sun, and clouds. For a moment, our engines go silent. We're floating on air for that moment. Then the engines kick in, and then with a thud, we've arrived in Vancouver. He never does ask me my name as we get up to deplane. I could say it, of course, but I don't, just because. On the next plane to Sydney, he's back. Lucky you, he sniggers, you got me again. Now what were the chances of that? This time, between us, a blank, empty seat. Though we don't talk beyond this, we are clearly in a relationship. It's a 15-hour flight after all. Right now, as I write, I can hear his vague snoring. I'm sure he hears mine the same way when I sleep. I've got the window. He's on the aisle. Twice I've had to ask him to let me squeeze out. He uses the time to stand up and make friends. Across the aisle from us, two pretty young girls. They say they are 18, but probably aren't. He asks how long will they be there in Sydney. They giggle. 10 hours, they say. He suggests a hotel. I squeeze back in behind him. We settle down into our silence. He resents me beside him. I resent his resentment. We do have a relationship, whether he likes it or not. He is baldish, old, clearly, and I'm even older. I think he's afraid they will think I'm his partner. The blank seat between us fills up with his garbage. I see that he puts on a baseball cap. He fusses with his luggage, keeps pulling out a work tablet, which is full up with words I can't read from the distance between us. At one point, he seems to be packing his stuff up to leave. He's getting a different seat, I think to myself in a panic. He's going to leave me. I hate being left. A black, aching hole in my chest is beginning to deepen. That familiar sense of erasure grows larger. And now our whole plane is beginning to tremble. Not a little, a lot. Stay in your seats, growls the pilot's deep voice. A baby is crying. Something heavy is falling. If things get intense, I'm thinking, it could be the end of our lives. If this is the end of our lives, I'm thinking, will we choose to unsnap and reach for each other? Will I fall into his arms as we spiral on down? Yeah, life. In 2019, this book was published by Utter Chaos Press, Laura Hugh, and then came COVID. And so, although I've been planning all sorts of things to do about it, to publicize it, I did nothing. And the book has been sitting on my shelves forever after. And I decided I'm going to bring it here and share some of these poems. It's called The Language of Stone, and truly every poem has a stone in it. So I'm just going to randomly read a few of these, and I hope you're going to want to buy the book. Again, everything I'm selling you except the anthology is $10. Stones do not move. They don't move. They just sit there forever in rows. Under them boxes of bones, dirty old bones. Sprinkle my ashes over the ocean. Sprinkle my ashes into the wind. Teach me to fly, let me fly. The peach's rough stone holds a life in its belly. The dove's egg is a soft stone filled with promise of bird. The future of marble depends on the sculptor. The pipes of an organ are molded from lead. What then can be said of the stone that is human? How much heat can it bear? How much weight without cracking? Is there somewhere within it a dark, viscous fluid that properly tempered might learn how to sing? Is there bone in the angel's wing? The woman who turned to stone. There was an old woman who met a young stone that was shaped like a snake with a jewel on its forehead. The jewel was a sharp diamond crystal. Now you must love me, hissed the snake at the woman, rocking his crystal in front of her eyes. And the moon rose, and the moon set, and the moon rose. The old woman stared as he glided his cold reptilian fingers over her warm human body in dry, scaly ripples. And her salty lips spread in a smile as he sang in her ears with his slender split tongue, while his jewel flashed in the moonlight. And then when he kissed her, a long, icy chill swept through her body like wind through the desert. I love you, she lied in a dry, scaly whisper as she felt herself turning to stone. These are totally random here, but it's a terribly difficult stone. It was beautiful, yes, but heavy as sin and expensive. They're always expensive. Nor did she have the right tools. And no matter how hard she worked far into the wee hours chipping away at it, still it was never quite right. It just kept getting smaller and somehow less beautiful. This stone she was feeding her life to. It was far less than human. It was not even art. It had never been alive. A little pink tongue. I'll do 3 more of these. A little pink tongue. The stone had a little pink tongue. It could draw in its tongue, making it moist, push it back out, and then wiggle the tongue like a little pink worm. Inside the stone were 10,000 tongues, all sizes and colors. Some of them strong as an elephant's trunk. But only the little pink tongue had a window to peek through. If anyone bent close enough to try kissing the stone, it would stick out its little pink tongue. Sorrow. A stone stood at the mouth of the river. It was a sentinel stone. Its head was the shape of a library lion, teeth glistening, ivory fangs long and curved like the fangs of a saber-toothed tiger. When a lion tried to enter the river, the stone tore it open, spilling its entrails into the water that bled like a sea of lost babies, filling the basin with sorrow. Okay. Last one. The stone that was shaped like a girl. The stone that was shaped like a girl. Everyone thought it was real. It had soulful round eyes and small fingers. It smiled for the camera. When it was dressed in a pretty white dress, it recited a poem. When it was given a small silver fork, it ate up its dinner. When it was given a boyfriend, it opened its legs. And when it was given a husband, it washed up the dishes. But when it was left by itself at the edge of the highway, then it did nothing. After all, it was only a stone. Does anybody know how I am going for time?
You're doing fine.
Pardon?
You're doing fine.
Doing fine. Very good. Okay, I'm going to read some of the stuff on paper here. This poem I'm reading you was actually published in Tikkun magazine, or online magazine. It's called Illegal. When you tell me with passion that my parents were wrong to escape illegally into Switzerland, that they should have stayed put in Vienna to fight against the Nazis, they should have been willing to die. As your uncle, a black British soldier who volunteered for their sake, might have died, but returned home to the islands to find himself disrespected as ever because he was black. Then let me tell you once again how it happened to my Jewish parents on the train to the death camp. a Nazi who might even have been my mother's old classmate, old boyfriend, maybe even the one to whom she once had been almost engaged, was standing behind them. She said she didn't know who it was. She never saw him. I think she may have been hiding the truth. Nonetheless, they both always agreed that a Nazi soldier was standing behind them, shoved the door open, said, "Jump." And of course, that's why I'm alive, because if they hadn't jumped, there would have been none of us alive. Okay. I'm going to do two more things. One is, I have one claim to fame, and that is that I was actually at the original Woodstock. So this is again, it's my memory, literally. My Woodstock. I bought my ticket for Woodstock just about the same time that those men walked on the moon. I remember myself sitting on a pillow on the floor with my arms folded over my knees in somebody's living room. The lights were low so we could see better. I remember the scene on the TV, the man saying some words I didn't quite get as he walked on the moon. I don't remember feeling an awful lot of emotion connected to men on the moon. But it wasn't too long after that we headed for Woodstock. I was with Roger, with whom I'd been having a good deal of post-midnight after-work sex at Mike and Michelle's house, actually, on a chair in their kitchen. It was delicious. Anybody might have walked in at any moment, but nobody ever did. That was our life back then. Nothing horrible ever happened to us. Not really. Not in real life. All the horrible was only on TV, as the coffins came in from Vietnam. It was Roger who took us to Woodstock, me and my brother, who was only 15 and for whom I was responsible. But I liked Roger better at night in the kitchen. Here, where the air smelled of dust and patchouli, under a brilliant sky, I needed my freedom. So I left him and walked off into the crowd. And then my brother left me and walked off into the crowd. Fact is, as it turned out, I never saw either of them again for the rest of the summer. Sadly, I still had my brother's shoes. I carried them over my shoulder for the next 3 days and 2 nights, just in case. My dad was a doctor. My period is painful. So I was well supplied with a drug called Darvon. Back then it was thought to be innocent as Tylenol. Now it's been taken off the market. But that was the only drug I ever indulged in on that magical weekend. Not even pot. The air itself was alive with smoke, sunshine, and music. No extra pharmaceuticals required. I was absolutely satisfied, absolutely alone, and absolutely not one bit alone. I was one living cell in a body of over 400,000. I did not need a thing. I had no desires. I was absolutely satisfied in a kind of mass heaven. I possessed nothing, only my clothes, the pills in my pocket, and my brother's shoes. I didn't even have a purse with me, not a penny in my pocket. Who cared? As for food, there was always the hog farm. I was riding high on the music. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Tim Harding. I was riding high on the stars that I saw in the eyes of every single person who approached me. I was Mary Poppins herself, perched on my broomstick, flying high over the clouds. I was wide awake and yet deep in a dream, dreaming to the slow, steady voice of who I now know was simply a man who called himself Chip Monk, as I. Not God, not even an angel, just this guy whose comforting voice permeated everything. A baby's been born, the voice said. Beware of brown acid, the voice said. The voice gave no orders, just gentle reminders. The hog farm has food if you're hungry. There was no judgment anywhere in that voice, only comfort and useful instruction. As I remember, I heard no ugly sounds anywhere. No one was fighting, no yelling, no racial slurs. Even the police were smiling, maybe a little bit nervous, but smiling. And I had a purpose, a job, one might say. I was meant to find my brother. I wasn't particularly worried, I just wanted to give him his shoes. Again and again, there I was at the mic calling his name. Again and again, there I was at the stage swaying to the music. Again and again, there I was in the field, lying flat on my back in the sunshine, belly up, unafraid, surrounded by footsteps, gazing up into an infinite blue. And then came the rain. Hard, wild, and warm was that rain. Phone booths sprouted like gigantic toadstools on a lawn. Long lines snaked their way towards them. Nobody minded the lines. Everybody just wanted to let their parents know that everything was fine, because it was fine, more than a little bit fine. When I got to the end of my own line, my parents informed me that my sister was there too at Woodstock, and she had our brother. So then I let go of the worry of the shoes, and wonderful became even more wonderful. And then came the helicopter, flying low over our heads. Inside them were soldiers who had been trained to kill. They could have started shooting, as they might well have in Vietnam. They could have called us terrorists, as they might do if it happened today. We were so many, after all, and all of one mind. They could have shot us dead. But that time, this time, now, was far in the future. Back then, in that now, in that place, the soldiers dropped flowers, not bombs. It was real. I was there. The soldiers dropped flowers onto our heads and into our hearts. So many flowers, beautiful flowers. Love fell from the sky. And it actually was true. I looked up, AI or something. Something I was trying to look up about the helicopters and who did it. And AI said that people say that there were flowers, but they think that was a mass hallucination because no one ever photographed the flowers. But they were flowers. Yeah. So never trust AI. Okay, last poem we're going to read is called The Woman in the Teddy Bear Aisle at the Goodwill Store. The woman in the teddy bear aisle at the Goodwill store was so exhausted she could hardly sit down to the youngest one of three, yes 3, oldest looked 3, who wouldn't sit. She slapped his butt, but not too hard, and still he didn't sit. Huge belly, just about to pop, she carried proudly, not hidden under special clothes, or any clothes in fact. Naked, it blossomed out over her pair of summer shorts. It looked as if she hadn't missed a year since that first child. Nor was her belly scarred or marked in any way. And those other 3 she carried just this way as well, I thought, and birthed and nursed. Now riding in the basket she was pushing in front of that magnificent belly, they were clearly having a really good time. The girl was cuddling something, very fluffy and very pink. The boys each had one too, but only hers was pink. Black-skinned she was, this woman, very black, like a goddess, I was thinking, come alive magically out of bronze. And her children so beautiful too, at whom I was staring and trying not to stare, but wanting to stare as if their beauty was a magnet to my eyes, except her shroud of weariness was close to overwhelming. I told her she had beautiful kids, and she almost smiled, said thank you, and kept on walking. But then one of the boys, the youngest one again, turned back, pointed at my hair in awe. Blue, he said. Yes, I said, blue. And she really did smile then. And she was so awfully tired. Her cheeks were hanging down. Even her eyes were almost too tired to add to the smile. And I was thinking how old soon she would be, now young. How young she was now. She might have been in a different world, in a different life, without white supremacy, without male supremacy, without so many children already to take care of and raise in this always so difficult world. And yet such marvelous kids they were, and such a marvelous belly she carried. And I felt rising up inside my own body a kind of an unspoken prayer that our world would catch up quickly in time to give these 3 lovely children and their soon-to-come sibling an unsurpassably brilliant future. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Wasn't that terrific?
Yeah.
So we're going to take a couple minutes break. Go sit a couple of books up here, and we'll come back afterwards and do an open mic.